Did you know Blackberry, the king of the physical keyboard, was one of the first to experiment with touchscreen phones and app stores? Yes, way back in the early 2000s. So, why did they end up as a ghost in the tech graveyard, while Apple and Android took over the world? Was it a tech problem, bad timing? No. It was something deeper, something human. It was fear. BlackBerry's leaders faced a profound psychological barrier. Even while holding the seeds of the future, they were too afraid to plant them. If you want to understand how a mindset can kill a billion-dollar empire, stay with me. This story is a masterclass in how personal biases can silently sabotage not just companies but careers. BlackBerry's story isn't really about technology. It's about the human mind when it gets too comfortable with power. For decades, BlackBerry's executives had enjoyed phenomenal success. They dominated corporate email. They secured massive contracts with governments and the world's biggest companies. They were making enormous profits from their keyboards and their BlackBerry enterprise servers. Think about it. When you've been right for that long, it's incredibly difficult to imagine you could ever be wrong. This is a classic psychological trap called the status quo bias. It's our natural preference to stick with what we know, what works and what feels safe, even when a much better option is staring us in the face. Let's break down the mental math happening inside the BlackBerry boardroom. On one hand, you have option A, keep the physical keyboard business. The profits are predictable, the risk is low, and the clients are happy. On the other hand, you have option B, go all in on these new touchscreen smartphones. This would mean cannibalizing your main source of revenue, entering a market with high uncertainty, and potentially confusing your loyal customers. Psychologically, option A feels like the smart, safe bet. Even if option B promises explosive long-term growth, the fear of short-term losses is overwhelming. BlackBerry's leaders were paralyzed by questions like, what if these new touchscreen phones hurt our enterprise sales? What if our brand loses its serious professional credibility? What if Apple and Android are just a fad and we jump on the bandwagon too soon and crash with them? Their decades of success had built a mental prison, a world where innovation felt dangerous instead of liberating. It is a simple trade-off, the low risk and predictable rewards of the keyboard business versus the high risk and potentially high rewards of the touchscreen business. The status quo bias always pushes us toward the low risk option. And it's important to understand, this isn't about being stupid. It's a natural human defense mechanism. But when an entire industry is about to change, playing defense is the surest way to lose. But there was another, even more damaging fear at play, the fear of cannibalization. This is the fear of killing your own baby to make way for a new one. BlackBerry's leadership understood perfectly well that fully embracing touchscreen devices would eat into their highly profitable keyboard sales. They worried their core enterprise clients would hesitate to adopt this new, unproven technology. The company's entire brand, built around security and productivity, could feel diluted. This fear creates a psychological paradox. To survive in the long term, you often have to be willing to destroy your most successful product of the present. But the immediate pain of that short-term loss feels almost unbearable. So, BlackBerry's executives chose comfort over courage. Their engineers repeatedly presented them with advanced touchscreen prototypes and innovative new app ecosystems. The market was clearly shifting towards iOS and Android. Competitors were moving at lightning speed. Yet BlackBerry delayed any meaningful action, holding onto the belief that our keyboards and our enterprise clients are just too valuable to risk. And this is exactly how great inventions die in silence. The fear of change makes you cling to old revenue streams. The fear of self-destruction prevents you from innovating. And the fear of judgment from shareholders and customers paralyzes leaders. Imagine two curves on a graph. One shows the slow, eventual decline of keyboard revenue. The other shows the potential for explosive growth in touchscreen revenue. The fear in the minds of the leadership acted as a solid barrier, preventing those two curves from ever crossing in their favor. By the time BlackBerry finally decided to act, it was too late. Apple and Android had already captured the hearts, minds, and wallets of the world. BlackBerry's massive first-mover advantage was completely wasted. And it was all because psychology won out over strategy. So, what can we learn from this? Blackberry's story isn't just a corporate case study. It's a powerful lesson for every single one of us in our careers and our lives. First, we have to learn to recognize our own status quo bias. Ask yourself honestly, am I clinging to what's safe simply because I'm afraid of being wrong? Am I confusing real risk with just perceived risk? Second, we have to embrace the idea of cannibalization. Real success, real growth, often requires destroying old habits, old ways of thinking, or even old projects you once loved. Personal growth demands that you be willing to step outside your comfort zone and let go of what's familiar. Third, reframe loss as an investment. The temporary sacrifices you make today are what pave the way for the incredible gains of tomorrow. You have to focus on the long-term rewards, not the short-term comfort. And if you're in a leadership position, you must create a culture that empowers this kind of thinking. Encourage your teams to challenge the status quo, reward experimentation and learning, not just predictable consistency. This isn't just for CEOs. This is for any professional facing a change, whether it's in your career or your personal life. In the end, Blackberry didn't fail because of its technology. It failed because its leaders let fear, comfort, and ego dictate their actions. They held the future in their hands but couldn't bring themselves to let go of the past. So let me ask you, what about you? Are you clinging to an outdated method, a comfortable job, or an old way of thinking just because it feels safe? Are you letting the fear of disrupting yourself prevent you from truly growing? It's time to reframe your mindset. Destroy the old habits that no longer serve you. Take calculated risks and choose to embrace learning over comfort. If this story challenged the way you think about your own career, let me know in the comments. And if you know someone who feels stuck in their comfort zone, share this video with them. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, because our next episode will dive even deeper into how our psychology shapes our destiny and how small mindset shifts can prevent colossal failures.